Welcome to the name game. Workout number 74 is broken record. Every 3 minutes for 6 total sets, you're going to have a 2-minute working window. To complete 8 shuttle runs, the shuttle runs being 2 lengths of 25 feet each equals 1 rep, 8 chest to bar pull-ups, and then in the remaining time in that 2 minutes of each interval, you're going to be performing max burpee box jump overs to 24 inches for males, 20 inches for females. So your score, how you're getting gauged on this workout, is the total number of burpee box jump overs you are doing. So your score is the number of reps that you complete across all 6 of those 2-minute working windows. Standards. The shuttle run. You have to get both feet completely past the line and touch one hand onto the far side of the line. For the chest to bar pull-ups, again, chest is defined as anything below your collarbones and above your floating ribs. You just got to go from a dead hang to touching your chest to the bar. The burpee box jump over. Yes, you do have to jump your reps up. You can step them down and you can jump off whatever you please, but these have to be facing the box. Let's bring in Coach Chris and we'll talk about strategy.
So before we kind of hopped on the recording, the first thing I did was just go, ugh. It's like, I think they touched on it on the games this year, or maybe one of the podcasts I was listening to, where interval-based Metcons are definitely something that's here to stay. I don't think interval-based Metcons are going to, like, in terms of a percentage, outweigh your standard CrossFit Metcon, but they're going to be there, right?
Agreed.
So knowing how to do them to maximize your score is super important, as opposed to just build like aerobic capacity, for an example. But in this one, guys, it's every 3 minutes, but it's noted as a 2-minute working window. So think of it more as a 2-on, 1-off, and your score is obviously burpee box jump overs across the 6 sets. With the 2-minute on, 1-minute off, we kind of talked about how your pacing on this can be faster than if it was a straight 6 rounds for time. However, most people grossly overestimate how fast that is.
So like it's an interval, so I need to sprint it, and it's
right.
1 minute rest for 10 rounds.
Right. I got rest. Or you're, not to pick on anyone, right? But I've coached a ton of CrossFit classes. I'm sure you've coached CrossFit classes. Like those people who look at the rest and they're like, oh, I get rest. Or, oh, I got to earn the rest, right? So I got to go super hard. And it's like, well, by round 3, you're just going to fall off a cliff, right? And so, yes, you can go faster, but like you said, it's got to be still at a pace that you could hold for 6 sets.
Yeah. So I had mentioned this. It was like, if you just so it's a triplet. So if you rested 20 seconds after each movement, like if this was, say it's 6 rounds for time and it's an X number of burpee box jump overs, that's a minute of rest per round. And that's what you get automatically. So right. I would definitely treat this more like, again, like almost rounds for time, but like be conservative at the beginning. Take the first 2, I would probably say, intervals and feel it out a little bit. Like obviously take a rehearsal round and kind of get a really good idea of where you're going to be at. And we can also figure that out based on time, but take the first 2 rounds to not just go all out and really hammer it. Like allow the way you're going to get your best scores if you got the exact same number every single time and maybe like a little kick at the end.
Yep.
And that's probably not going to happen realistically, but you want to get, I would rather see people err on the side of, oh, I was maybe 2 to 3 burpee box jump overs under my average on the first 2. And then I realized that I had a little leftover capacity and then I could kind of bring it up to that ceiling, versus the opposite where they're 2 to 3 over on the first 2. And then by the end, you're going to be tailing off and you're actually probably going to be more like 5 or 6 in the hole because you've been redlining for the last 3 intervals.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I even thinking about this, like you said, if you take 20 seconds of rest in between movements, that's a minute of rest. In this workout, you can, assuming, 8 chest to bars really by CrossFit workout standards is not a lot, but assuming someone can do those 8 chest to bars unbroken, or at least most of them unbroken across those sets, you can keep your transitions almost non-existent, knowing that, okay, if I come out, I can cruise a tad on the shuttle run, right? And we kind of talked about it before getting on that even breaking it down, you know, 8 shuttle runs is going to take people roughly a minute, right? And so if you're slower on a shuttle run, it might be a little bit more, like a 105, 110. If you're good at shuttle runs, maybe a 55 or a 50-second, but right around a minute. So you're going to have a minute to do chest to bars and burpee box jump overs. And so, you know, making sure you pace that shuttle run appropriately to make sure you have the gas in the tank to do those other 2 movements. And then, like you said, having it at a relatively sustainable pace with a kick at the end is going to definitely give you the best score here.
Agreed. Yeah, I think this is definitely a workout where you want to minimize your transition time as much as possible, just so the fact that you can go slower on the actual movements themselves.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not going to try to slow down chest to bars, but in terms of like burpee box jump overs and running, like those can get really like expensive, so to speak, like reps. If you're trying to like sprint a burpee box jump over versus like if you stay low, you step up your burpee, or like your hips stay level across the box, you're really efficient with them. Like if that's your focus and like you're trying to basically give yourself the most time that you can to perform like sustainable kind of methodical reps for the burpee, rather than take a little bit of transition time, a little bit longer of a break, and then try to sprint your reps. I would much rather see people be quick with their transitions, slower and smoother with their movement, and then just sort of seeing where that lands them in the first couple intervals.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to be a much better approach for sure.
And lastly, we encourage as many people as possible to jump in with you and do these workouts. So you've got people who want to throw down with you, by all means, encourage them to do that. However, we want everyone to submit their scores, right? So where you're going to go to is zorfitness.com. You'll hit on menu, drop down from the protocol. You'll hit that tab called name game. And then you'll go down to the first workout, which should be the newest one. And you're going to click that little green arrow. There you'll be able to enter your name, as long also with the workout name. That's important because it tags it so it doesn't get lost in the forum later on. But then you obviously are going to put your score or your time, and then you'll submit it. If you click on that little number next to it, you're going to see all the other comments, right? You might actually not be able to view them all. So if you hit view all comments, that's going to take you down sort of a leaderboard where you get to compare scores. And then also your coach gets to help determine where you stack up versus other competitors to be able to determine your individual weaknesses. This is going to be super helpful for us, pretty exciting and engaging for you guys. And if you're someone who's watching this, you're not a Zor Fitness athlete yet, I'll link to it below, but you can either check out the protocol or one-on-one coaching, and we'll reach out, see if you're a good fit. And for everyone, best of luck on the workout.